Here we go. Try to stay awake. Try to stay with me. Don't be on your phone. Leave that for the bus ride home or something. Okay. Couple things the morning off, and we're going to do this. You will have no escaping this. We're going to tell you what the breakdown is. You have 2 hours plus half an hour. I told you about that. Everybody gets half an hour on top of the 2 hours. You don't have this one? It's this one right here. Did you grab these already? You can grab one of each and the study sheet guideline. Okay. Look, I'm jumping and everything here. Anyways, home finance, the heaviest is vehicle finance. On this particular year, they hit us heavy with the vehicle finance. But I would say between home finance and vehicle finance, that's like the heaviest. And then you've got trig, geometry and trig, and probability, and then some precision, some stats. Okay, what are you allowed to bring the day of? You do this booklet, obviously we'll provide that. Formula sheet, your study sheet, a scientific calculator, ruler. You can bring it, but you'll be fine without a ruler. Okay, next. Keep flipping. Couple of things, guys. There is a big difference between state and describe versus explain. Okay. State can just be a word, a sentence, that's it. When it's describe or explain, you're using words, you can use diagrams, you're being a bit more thorough than just stating, okay? That's the important part. And if it's calculate / determine, you're using some sort of formula to get that. Keep that in mind. Okay, we'll tell you to stop the day off, and then we'll be like, okay, now you're ready. And turn your phones off and go. Okay, so we'll start with page 1 here. Home finance. Remember, everything is sectioned off into units. It tells us that Lorenzo wants to buy a house. His monthly property taxes $125. Monthly heating cost will be $160. Monthly mortgage payment $1,216. He has a gross income of $38,400 per year. Now, I'm pretty sure if you read this, you should probably already think GDSR. I'm hoping that's the bell that rings. So you have that formula on your formula sheet, but you also could have it on your study sheet. One thing that I noticed, okay, look at the GDSR on your formula sheet. It doesn't have the times 100. So you only multiply by 100 if you want it as a percentage. If you want it as a decimal, you just leave it the way it is. Let's read carefully here. Calculate his gross debt service ratio, the GDSR. What does it say there? As a percent. So if you wanted to get full marks on this thing, you actually have to multiply by 100 towards the end. Okay? What is important about GDSR? That everything has to be in monthly amounts. Okay, so let's check. Monthly property taxes, sure. Monthly heating costs, perfect. Monthly mortgage, perfect. But then it says a gross income of $38,400 per year. That's different. Income of that much per year. So you have to watch out there. We have to simply divide that by 12. And if we divide that by 12, we get, usually the province is pretty good at you getting whole numbers. That's $3,200 a month. Okay, now that everything is a monthly amount, we calculate GDSR. You take the monthly property taxes, the heating, and the mortgage payment. We divide all of that by your monthly income. We're going to compare Because it says as a percent, we're gonna make sure we multiply by 100. Let's add up the top. At the top, you get 1501. Don't rush when you calculate, okay? Clean it up. So now we go 1501 divided by 3200. Multiply that by 100. 4691. Do you see that? And clearly indicate your final answer. So we circle that. All right. 3 marks for that. Explain if his loan application will be approved based on the GDSR calculated in Part A. Another word they could have used is justify. Justify whether or not the loan would be approved. And you would say, no, it will not be approved since the GDSR, and here's the magic, is too big, not good enough. It's above, the magic number is 32% when it comes to GDSR. That would be good enough. And I hope you have this on your study sheet, but I will just summarize it. GDSR, if this is 32%, right? If it's above, this is bad. If it's below, that is good, because it means you're spending less on housing. The smaller the number, the less of your income goes towards housing. That's what you're finding out. Okay, let's keep going. And I am going a little faster than you would probably like. If you didn't do any of the work, you're going to be like, wait. Okay. Number 2, state 2 ways to reduce the interest paid over the life of the mortgage. I'm going to ask you a little bit if you have something for me here. State 2 things that would reduce the amount of interest, right? Reduce the interest paid over the life of the mortgage. What can you do to make that happen? Any volunteers? What's that? That is insurance. Keep that for later. Increase your down payment, right? You can do increase the down payment. Why is that? Well, if you increase your down payment, you will borrow less money, and in other words, save money, save on interest. What else do we have? Okay, let's look. Reduce the interest paid over the life of a mortgage. Mortgage is basically a loan. So we can reduce the term. It's also known as the amortization of mortgage. And if you want to go really, right, example, instead of 25 years, go with 20 years. Another way you could save is you could make additional payments. You could negotiate a lower interest rate. And so if you write this down, it's still good when you flip through it. You have a pretty good idea of what to expect. You know what? Another one that I know I talked about it when it came to mortgages is increase the payment frequency. What is that? You go from monthly to biweekly. So if you make more frequent payments, like if you pay more often, you also end up saving interest because you pay it off faster. Gotta watch my time here. Okay, so if you have a few down, let's go to the next one. Page 3. What did that chart? That chart should tell you immediately. Land transfer tax. Oh, right. Gross. Anyways, Betty bought a house. Right? You bought a house for 185,000. She already knows that for the first 150,000, the land transfer tax will cost $900. Here's the kicker though. Calculate the total land transfer tax. That is really what they're after. So this piece here threw some students off. For the first 150, you get 900. Like, what is that all about? Let's just use the method I showed you. I showed you a way to do it every single time. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. We're going to use this table. What I'm going to ask you to do right away is convert these things. And I had a lot of those in the review. 0.5 divided by 100 is 0.005. Remember that. 1 divided by 100, 0.01. And then this is 0.015. And this is 0.02 as a decimal. Okay. I would suggest you do that just to make sure. So this is how I showed it to you. You go with 185. Let's start subtracting. 30,000, right? This 30,000, we take that away. You pay $0 on it, so we just go ahead and instead of multiplying that by 0, we're just going to say there's $0 paid on the first 30. You grab your calculator, you go 185 minus 30,000. That's 155. And then you keep going. The next 60,000, take that away. On that 60,000, this is the percentage we pay taxes on. So we write down, we will multiply it by 0.005. We'll do the math a little later. For now, we're just going to keep going until we can't anymore. So we go minus the 60,000. That's 95. You ask yourself, can I subtract the next bracket from it? And the answer is yes. Okay, so we're going to go minus 60. And for this bracket, we pay 1%, which is 0.01. We'll do the math later. Keep going. You go minus 60,000. You're left with 35. Can I subtract 50,000 from it? But you still go and pick, you apply that percentage. So you stop subtracting and you apply that percentage, which is that as a decimal, to it. Okay. I would do this first and then I worry about calculating. So 60,000 times 0.005, that's 300. 60,000 times 0.01, that's 600. And then 35,000 times 0.015, 525. That's added up. 300 and 600, that's 900. Plus 525, that's 1425. And that is the land transfer tax. It's a one-time cost. Here's why they added that weird statement there. This one here. If you're still writing, I'll be back. For the first 150, you pay 900 bucks. This is where they got it from. Watch. 30 and 60, that's 90. Plus another 60 is 150. So the first 150,000, you pay $900. Like if you add this up, it's $900. So that's what they were trying to say there. It didn't matter. Like we just go ahead and use our system the way I taught it to you, and it works every single time. Okay. Now I'm going to say this. It could be that they said, how much do you pay just the amount above, like just the 525? Then you would have to be careful to just state this part, the 525. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Linnea buys house. Two of her daily ongoing expenses are heating and mortgage payments. State another two daily ongoing expenses. What else is ongoing when it comes to home ownership that you can think of? Water bill? Sure. What else? Electricity? You know what? I would put that in under this category. I think the province would be like that. You've talked about bills, so that's about the same. Let's talk about insurance. Right? You need to have your insurance and property taxes. Another bill could be alarm system. If you monitor it. And so forth. All right. Keep going. Homeowners are responsible for preventative maintenance. That's a big one. And emergency repairs on the roof of the house. Describe an example of preventative maintenance that should be done to the roof of the house. So you could say something like this. Regularly inspect and replace damaged shingles. That's a good one. Like, what kind of dating app do houses use? Shingles. Anyways, I just came up with that now. Something else is, do you remember raking off snow close to the gutter? Do you remember me talking about that? You rake off the snow so that it can melt easy. I would say check for debris and remove if necessary. If you have like a decent sized branch or little branches on the roof from your neighbor after a storm, I would say, hey, get rid of them because they're going to get stuck in your gutters and cause all kinds of further problems. Describe an example of an emergency repair. So you got to think of like a chaotic situation, like something, right? A tree falls on the roof, comma, so the roof will need to be replaced. I will highlight the fact that it's described, right? If it says describe, hint, hint, write me a little story, right? Like set the stage. Repairing or patching a leak during a storm. That would be an emergency repair. Like if it's happening while it's raining and it's dripping, you better get up there and patch it up, right? Because you can't, well, obviously if it's safe to do so, but you got to go and repair it quickly. There's some kind of like emergency to it. If you go up and you're like, oh, there's a curled up shingle here and there, you've got some time to go get the parts and do it whenever you have time. Okay, so there's some sense of urgency here. All right. This is the next one is the last question for home finance. So I'm going to go over. Sasha recently purchased a new house with a 20-year mortgage. 20-year mortgage, and the mortgage is $174,000. The monthly payment is $1,096.20. Okay, so introduce that. State the total amount Sasha will have repaid the bank at the end of the mortgage. What formula would this be? Total paid to the bank. Do you have that formula? TPB. It's a classic. You go payment, times 12 months. It's always 12 because we only have monthly payments in this course, times the number of years. So they give me the payment. Make sure you don't, you clearly indicate what number it is. Sometimes you fool yourselves, right? If it looks like something else, times 12 times 20. That's it. That's what you paid the bank. 263,088. That's it. This is not total interest. This is just how much will you have paid the bank over the life of the mortgage or by the end of the mortgage. They all mean the same thing. There's a sense of finding the total here. Next, state the total amount of money paid in interest to the bank over the life of the mortgage. So here it is, the total interest paid to the bank over the life of the mortgage. And this is the formula. It starts actually with what I have up here. Total interest is payment times 12 times years minus, so let's put that all in brackets, minus the mortgage or the loan. It's the same thing. This part is total paid to the bank. So they kind of set it up in such a way that you will use your previous answer in this for this question right here. So total interest. I'm just gonna use this, that number that I already calculated, because that's what it is, minus the mortgage, which is given to me way at the beginning. So 263.88 minus 174,000, 89,088. There we go. So paid to the bank, paid in interest. So you paid 174,000 for the house and another 80,000, almost 90 grand interest. Not too shabby, right? Not too bad. So this is it. I'm going to stop this video here and then I'll start a new